So the these societies he's talking about in an evolutionary way, they're from generation to generation not that different, and that has to do with the rate of change in like the means of production to some extent,
Mhm.
and like the sort of a more healthy culture that's more based in like collective survival than it is like individual success or individual like domination, something like that. And I think these generational divides are like a healthy function of a society which is rapidly moving forward, and that like the culture stagnates and evolves slower than like the pace of technology, the pace of the means of production, the pace of like how actual social structures are changing. So I think you get these like if you compare like the 60s counterculture was like, yeah, like, duh, that was gonna happen. Like, you see how quickly everything was changing, except for the way that people were relating to each other. The the extreme levels of like traditionalists, like racism and sexism, but just like conservative values and like conservative ways of seeing the world, which completely did not fit anymore. So you had like what most people consider to be a good thing, which is like this sort of social revolution, free love, and like the civil rights movement, and all these things are part of that, and you get that sort of over and over again. And so it's hard to say like how do you, in that context, like if you're not willing to adapt as a parent, adapt your values and worldview very quickly to keep up with how society is trending, you're gonna get these, like, break points where, there's not much relation, between generations.
Yeah, I think it's true that the society is accelerating so much quicker that there's a more natural generational divide based on like lived experience and knowledge and what technology does. And it's very true that the pace of development outpaces our like how our nervous systems are wired. So it would certainly make sense that it outpaces how like our human systems exist.
Mhm.
And I don't think the answer is like, oh, we have to go back to the quote unquote natural way of being. I think that's kind of I don't mean and I know what Gabor Mate is saying about like we shouldn't glorify the norm, but also glorifying the natural way is also a little bit problematic. I do wonder though, all this generational divide, like you started to get into with like, oh, the boomers and millennials don't get along online. Like you do wonder how much that those divisions are played up and exploited to create unnecessary divisions between generations to sell ideas about identity and ultimately to create consumer classes. And if we had a healthier structures that allowed us to have healthier models of parent to child attachment or child to grandparent attachment or child to elder attachment, and they weren't all lost to peer attachment, I don't think you'd have that level of division. That would be much healthier to have actually like connection across the differences versus like herding all of your peers into the same like this generation thinks this generation thinks that. But that is not a useful paradigm. My guess is it'd be healthier for the generations to be able to have those conversations and differences
Mhm.
in a healthy family or extended family or small village unit than to have what we have now, which is this sort of division across generation that alienates children from parents and children from grandparents and parents from grandparents, and then builds these like micro cultures
Yeah.
within the generation, which are for the most part used to sell stuff and get more likes on the algorithm, not to like make social change.
Yeah.
I just it furthers this idea that you have to have sameness in order to be in relationship with one another. When really you don't have to have sameness, you have to have care.